Welcome back to my channel, and this is another episode of 100 Days of DevOps. We're in, I think, day 68, if I'm correct. We are currently still exploring Terraform and how to use Terraform to provision um, resources on our Azure portal or on our Azure account. And so far, we've looked at different concepts of Terraform. We've looked at the file structure. We've looked at Terraform stage file, and how you can implement a remote backend. We've also looked at Terraform modules, which was the previous video. I would advise that if you're seeing this video for the first time, you can watch previous video. I always say it. Whatever video that is uploaded is like a layer above the previous videos, right from the very first video of this whole series. That's, I mean, from the very day one, everything has been stacked layer upon layer upon layer. So the best way to understand this is to actually start from the beginning, then you flow with us, and then you can get the bigger picture and understand better. So today we're going to be creating more resources using Terraform. But then I noticed something. I noticed that in the previous videos, whenever we create resource, we always create a resource in a new resource group. That's, we define a new resource group, and then we put our resources in that resource group. So you might be wondering, must you always create a resource group, or how do you reference a resource group that has previously been created, and then you create more resources in that resource group? So I'll also use the opportunity to touch on that today. And today we'll be creating two resources. We'll be creating a container instance, that's Azure Container Instance, and then we'll also be creating a container registry. Basically, it's similar thing that we did during the Azure phase of this particular journey, but we did it using the portal. We did it using I think we used the CLI for it. I can't really remember. So now we're going to do it programmatically. So first things first, since we've already started, we've started using modules, I will just create two modules, one for container instance and one for container registry. So I'm going to I'll remove these two because we're not going to be creating any VM, and we're not going to be creating any storage account. And I'll also show you a trick on how to use your the plugins that we've installed. I'll show you a trick on how to use them when you're stuck or when you're not really sure on how on of how to write a particular block of code, right? So without wasting much time, I'll come to modules and I'm going to create a folder. So the folder I want to create is let's create the um let's see Azure ACI. So I'll create an Azure ACI module, and I'll create one more module. I'll create Azure ACR. So ACI for container instance and ACR for container registry. Okay, so let's now go and define what we want to do. So let's first create the main.tf. So we're basically just going to be working with main.tf. We are going to create one main.tf. Like everything will be in the main.tf, since it's just something really simple. So yes, I'll do main.tf, main.tf, and let me save this. So the main.tf. Now we've already installed the Terraform plugin. We've also installed the HCL plugin, right? When we were using the portal to create things, we got to understand that some things you need to create some things before you can create other resources. For example, you can't create a resource without a resource group, right? So there are some steps that you need to know, and that's why I always emphasize on knowing how to create things from the portal first before you start doing things programmatically. Because now, before you create an Azure Container Instance, you need to create an Azure Container Group. That's when you're doing it programmatically, right? So you need to create the Azure Container Group. Then in that container group, you can now define your container instance. Then that is basically how to go about it, right? And if you check the Azure documentation, you will see it there. But let us assume that you're not really sure on how to actually go about creating a container instance. So you're just going to, you can just use the um, hash symbol and say create an Azure Container instance. So when I click enter, it's going to, start giving me suggestions. I don't need this. Let's see. Let's see. Let's do resource, resource. Okay. So Azure RM. Let's do container group. Okay. So see what it did. I typed create an Azure container instance, and then it gave me like an example of the snippet to create an Azure container instance. Like I said, you create a container group first, and then you create the container instance inside it. So what I'll do is that I'm just going to edit this and modify it. Let me change the name. Let me see. ACI container. Okay. Um, the name and change it. Vetrax ACI container, and location is East US. The resource group name, I'm going to leave it like that, and I'll leave the location. OS type is Linux. The container is hello world. CPU. So I'll still go and get the name of this container. IP address type, DNS label name. Okay, good. So now we've created an Azure Container Instance, but we want to, normally I said you cannot create a resource without a resource group. So we want to reference, we don't want to create a new resource group. If you go to if you go to my portal, you'll see that I have two resource groups, the Network Watcher resource group and then the 100 Days of DevOps resource group that we have been using. So now I want to create resources in this group. So when I open this resource group now, I shouldn't find anything in this resource group because it's supposed to be empty. So the resource group is actually empty. So I want to create resources into this resource group, and I want to um I'll copy the name, and yes. So when I go back here, I cannot I cannot start writing resource again, because if I start with resource, basically it shows that you are creating a new resource. So what do I do instead? So instead of having resource, I can do data. I'll type data. So which data do I want to actually represent? Data means that you're trying to reference another information. So I want Azure RM resource group, right? So I want the resource group, and I want to name it. Remember, this name is not the name of the resource group. It's like the name that you will be referencing your code. Let me do my RG, and I want to just give it a name. So I pasted the name, and the location. I think, should I have location? No, let me see. Let me try it. West Europe. Location is West Europe. So let's see if I need to actually add the location. Let me go down here. and try something. Use a previous Azure Resource Group. Let's see if it will bring anything. Okay, so it didn't bring anything, but I'm sure that is how you can go about it. So now let's use 100 days of DevOps. I think that and the resource group is in um West Europe. Okay, so location will be okay, and then resource group name will be data.azure resource group name. Okay, so we've referenced our location, we've referenced our resource group name. Then for the container name, I need to go and be sure because I want to use a predefined container. Or should I use, let me go here. Let me see, container instance. Let me see if I can get the name. I need the proper name so I don't make mistakes. So let me click on create just to be sure. Okay, so this is the name I'm looking for. mcr.microsoft.com, blah 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 blah. So this is the name I'm looking for. Let me see if my VS Code has it. Container image. Let me see. Awesome. So VS Code has it mcr.microsoft Azure blah 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 ACI hello latest. Let me be sure. ACI hello world latest. Good. So that is all I need. That is all I need. So my container name is hello world. The image is this, and the port is this, and IP address type is public IP address. DNS name is ACI hello world. Mm, let me see. Petrax hello world. Let me just use this. Okay. So we have defined our container instance, and I'll just click on save, and let's go and define our ACR. So we'll go main.tf. Okay, so I'm going to go to the documentation and I'll search for Azure ROM, Azure, let me see, let me just type for container registry. Okay, and there. So I'm just going to use this one, copy this, okay, and I'll come and paste it here. Okay, but I'll do something different this time around. I would, instead of creating a new resource, I would copy this one. I'll copy this one and I'll paste it here. I'll paste it here. And okay, so this will also change ACR. Okay. Oh, good. So it's asking me to accept. Okay, nice. So that's why it's useful. It's good for you to have all these plugins. So it makes things actually easy, much more easy and faster for you. You can speak to the location of my resource group, and no, I don't want a premium. I don't want a premium. I want I want the basic. The replication, no. I want West Europe. Okay. And I don't want zone replication. I will take this out also. Okay, good. So I'm creating a container registry and a container instance. So I'm going to come here and let me see my storage account. Let me see. Do I have the provider? Okay, I have the provider block. So I'm just going to I'll copy this provider block, just like I did with the others. So I'll copy it. I'll paste it here, and yeah, save. I'll paste here also. Okay, good, awesome, and I'll save. So we have our container registry and our container instance, and we used the previous resource group, which is 100 of DevOps. We didn't create a new resource group. So in my main.tf, I'm going to module. Module is what did I call it again? Module is Container, Azure ACI. So I just do source. The value is, so it will give me options to pick from. So I'm going to pick the Azure ACI module, and that's pretty much all. And I'll create another module into Azure ACR and source. So it's going to give me Azure ACR. So it's already even indicating because I already said ACR. So now we've defined it, and let's see. Let me save the Terraform init. So I really hope this works. So it's initializing backend. It's going to try and recognize the other modules that have been added to it. So you can see it, Azure ACI in modules underscore this, and Azure ACI in modules underscore that. So it's already, and it's using the previous block state and all of that. So let's do Terraform plan. So if this doesn't give out any error, then we'll try the Terraform apply and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we ran into an error apart from the normal warnings that we had and all of that. It's saying line, I said can't configure a value for location. Its value will be decided automatically based on the result of applying this configuration, and it's the same issue for the ACR. So I'm suspecting that I didn't need to specify the location. So maybe once I specify the name, it picks the location alongside. So I'm going to remove the location. I'm going to remove the location. I'll save, and I'll come here also, and I'll take out the location and I'll save. So let's try Terraform plan again and see what output we'll get this time around. Okay, so we are seeing another error, and it has to do with ACI configuration. So it said Expected IP address type should be one of public, private, none, or we got public. Now the issue is that the word public is correct, but I think the first letter is supposed to be capitalized. So let's go and see. Okay, so let's change this to capital P and let's save and let's try it one more time. Terraform plan. Okay, another error. So apparently the ACI passed. So we currently don't have issues with the ACI part because it's showing one resource to add and one to destroy. But now the ACR, we're having a challenge with it because it said ACR georeplication can only be applied when using the premium SKU. And if you check, we change it from premium to basic. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to take out the georeplication entirely. So I'll take out that block. I just want to create something basic, not too serious because it's just for purpose of learning. So yeah, let me just apply it one more time. I believe after this we shouldn't have any issues. Okay, so we're not having any challenge. So now we have two to add, zero to change, zero to destroy. So like I said in the previous videos, the reason why we're having this warning is because of this terraform.cfvars file that is here. So we can go ahead and do terraform apply, and I'm just going to auto approve, and to see. So now if you notice, it didn't throw us an error when we referenced this resource group, this data block instead of the resource. So it didn't throw an error when we did that in the ACR and also in the Azure ACI. So let's see, once the resource is created, we'll confirm from the resource group if it is actually inside that resource group. So I'll check the output and see. Okay, so resource group names 100 days of DevOps. You can see it here, 100 days of DevOps, and it's also 100 days of DevOps. So I believe that if Terraform did not find this resource group, it would have thrown an error for us to actually upgrade the resource group. So once the Terraform apply has completed successfully, we'll check if these two resources are in our resource group. So let's just give it a sec for it to actually complete. Okay, so our resources have been created, two resources added, zero change and zero destroyed. So let's go to our Azure account and I'll go to the resource groups. So first thing we notice is that no new resource groups were created. We still have these two resource group that was there before we started. And when I click on this, I'm supposed to see two resources, at least two resources in this resource group. So good. So now we can see the ACI container that we created, and we can see the ACR registry that we created. So I just wanted to show us, this is a way just to show us that if you want to use an existing information that is already existing, you use data you use data. But if you want to create a new resource, you use the resource tag in Terraform. And if you want your intelligence to also assist you, you can just do a hashtag and then type whatever you want. So you can either do it. It just makes everything easy for you to actually write when you understand how all of these things work. So that'll be all from me today. I hope you've at least learned a thing or two from this video. I'll see you on the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.